Hi, my name is Joshua, and this is the next video in our series about how to create a custom course membership platform with Payload. This is the second video in our series, and the last time we talked about the basics of the project, and this time we're going to start implementing it and setting up Payload and MongoDB from scratch and how to connect it to S3 hosted on Linode or Akamai. Do not wonder, the last time I talked about how we're gonna use video, or we're gonna use BunnyCDN for the videos. We are going to use BunnyCDN for the videos, but we're not going to use a plugin for that. To save all of the other files and pictures, we are going to use S3. Now, let's start. To begin, we simply need a terminal, and we're gonna type npx create payload app. Now we're gonna wait a second and we can name our project. We're gonna name it LMS YouTube. It's a blank page. It uses MongoDB. And now we're going to create our custom project and connect it to a MongoDB. For this, create a MongoDB account. This is completely free. Click on create new project and then you arrive here. We're gonna name this as well LMS YouTube. Next, I'm the owner of this project and we click create project. Now this has created a new project, and in this project we need to create a new cluster, and in this case we're going to create an M0 free cluster. We are going to name it LMS cluster. In my case it's in Frankfurt, as I'm usually in Germany, but you can choose whatever you want in here. And we click create deployment. Now again we wait. Yes, perfect. Here we see that it wants us to set up a username and a password. We need this later for the connection string. In this case I'm simply going to name this admin. We're creating this database user and we're choosing a connection method, in this case drivers. Now we're waiting until the server or the cluster is provisioned, and we get this string here and we can just copy that and paste it here as our MongoDB connection string. Don't worry, when you see this tutorial, this is not going to work anymore. Then we wait again. It's installing the npm packages. And when everything went through, we should see something like this. Now, we're going to return to MongoDB for a second. We don't need this anymore. This is done. We're simply going to do one thing, which is network access. To make the development easier for us, we're going to simply allow access from anywhere. Click add IP address, allow access from anywhere, and confirm. So now if our IP address changes, we can still access the MongoDB database. Now this is pending and we can close it. In here, we're gonna jump into our LMS YouTube directory, type code dot, and it's going to open inside Visual Studio Code. We're going to trust the author. And now we're ready to start. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is simply to run the project and see if everything is going fine. We do this with npm run dev. And as we see, it is now hosted under localhost 3000, ready in 3.7 seconds. And let's see, let's go into our browser, and it should, under the admin, there should be something available. Now, if everything worked well, you should see this screen. We're gonna now put in an email address. In this case, I'm gonna put dev@10xmedia.de and 12345 and 12345. But you can put whatever email you want to create the admin user or the first user of the Payload backend. Now, this is what we should see, and it's working. The next thing that what we're going to do is we're going to integrate, or we're going to start our front end, and we're going to install Tailwind for it. Now we have in here in our source directory an app directory with our app router, and in here we are going to create a hidden route. We name it app, and everything that is related to the front end that the user is actually going to see is going to go in here. Now, if you try out to go to localhost 3000 without admin, then you're gonna see, oh, there's nothing there because we have not configured, or Payload does not configure any route in the blank project that the user will see if he goes directly to this address. In this app directory, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a styles.css, and now we're going to install Tailwind. Go on the website of Tailwind. Here or Google for the install Tailwind with CSS, Tailwind CSS with Next.js. What we need here is, you can ignore this because we already created our project. We need to install the Tailwind CSS, Post CSS, and Auto Prefixer. Simply copy this without the npm because we are going to use pnpm. So pnpm, paste this, install, and it's installing it. And now that's installed, you can execute the initiation script. Simply copy it, paste it again. And if this worked out correctly, now yes, we have now a Post CSS config and a Tailwind CSS config. But we need to add content, or we need to tell Tailwind where our CSS files are in order for it to work. This we're gonna do by copying this from the Tailwind page and pasting it into content. The only thing we're going to need here is, because all our files, and we intend to use this later for our Payload backend as well, we only need the entry for the app directory. We can remove the rest and save this. And now we're going to need to add these to our styles CSS. The styles CSS we just created, if we also want to include the payload styles into our Tailwind styles into our payload project, we can do this by simply copying the components and the utilities and pasting them into our custom SCSS. But we're gonna rename we're not gonna work with SCSS. We're simply going to work with CSS, but we also need to fix this or to change this in the layout TSX. Okay, let's save everything. And now we should be ready to go. Of course, you're not gonna see anything because we still need to create our first page. For this, we're going to create a base layout in our app folder. Gonna name it layout, new file, layout.tsx. And this layout is going to import our styles.css, and then it needs to import React. We're going to define an interface root layout props. It's gonna take children, and the children are React, or is React Node. Simply import this as well. Now this layout is going to be applied to all the files that are in the hidden app directory or in the hidden route. So we don't need to worry about importing this CSS style again. Now export default function root layout. Now with children and the root layout props, and it's going to return a React node. It's going to return a React element. Simply import this as well. And here we are going to put an HTML tag, and in the HTML tag a body tag, body. And in this we enclose our children. Perfect. Now let's save this and format this nicely. Okay, now we actually want to create our first page and see if Tailwind CSS works. For this, we're going to create page.tsx, and in here we're going to import React and again React element from React and export default function page. It's going to return a React element and return page. Now, as we already included Tailwind, we can give this some style. Class name text 3XL font red 500 font bold. Now this should be bright big red text directly at our home directory. We can close this. We don't need the Tailwind guide any. Okay, and what we see is our Tailwind styles not applied. Okay, let's see. I think yes. Let's try using the source directory, directly here. Let's restart it. And what happens? Now it's fat and bold, or bigger and bold. Of course, it's text red 500. And yes, installing Tailwind CSS worked. Let's come to the next step in the next video.